Hi everyone and welcome to Wednesday's reading lesson. Before we start, I just want to say a huge shout out to those of you who had a go at the Kahoot yesterday. There will be results coming out later in the week and I'll be posting the leaderboard. Today's lesson is moving on to vocabulary and I'll be looking at the meaning of words. Before we do that, I'd like to say a huge shout out to some people who've been working really hard this week. Okay, so we have Luke SH in 6M. Now, Luke has shown superb determination this week to complete all of the chili challenges in reading. So well done, Luke. And we also have Bailey in 6G. Now, Bailey gave an excellent answer to this chili 3 question. She carefully picked 2 reasons why Alex would be scared to climb out the window. So well done to both of you two. I'm going to give you both 2 dojo points. Okay, we'll start a task today. Now, you may have played this game before. It's called Boggle. And what you need to do is see how many words you can make from these letters. So you can only use each one once. So, for example, you cannot use the C twice, but you could use those E's 2 times or 3 times because there's 3 of them. Have a little go at it. An example would be eaten. And I've joined them up to have a little practice. And can you email in your answers by the end of today, and there'll be 5 dojo points for whoever can find the most. Okay, so as I said earlier, we are looking at some vocabulary today, and we're going to find and explain the meaning of words in context. So here's some key vocabulary. So our first word is courageous. Now, this is an adjective. And it means not to be deterred, like put off, by danger or pain. It means to be brave. Groggy, an adjective. This means dazed, weak, unsteady, especially from illness, intoxication, sleep, or a blow. So that's like a knock on the head. A bit like what Alex had at the end of the last chapter. Elizabethan is an adjective. This is relating to or characteristic of the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. An example is an Elizabethan manor house. We have galleried. It's an adjective to say that something is having a gallery or galleries. So a room of pictures or paintings. And we have precise, another adjective. So this is something that is marked by exactness and accuracy of expression or detail. So something is spot on or perfect. So, I'd love you to have a go at say it, shout it, whisper it, clap it and act it. And I love doing this myself, so let's have a little go at courageous. 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 Go and have a go. Right, can you read this tricky word? Pause and have a little go. Great, it is explanation. It means to explain something. What is the root word of this word? Unwrapping. So what is the root word of it? What does it come from? Good, wrap. Can you think of any more words with that same root? Good. Wrapped or wrapper. Now, wrapper means this, like chocolate wrappers, not a wrapper like Stormzy. And what spelling rule can you see in this word? So the word is official. You hear the sound actually. So yeah, well done. It's shull and has that C-I-A-L ending, and I'm sure you've been doing lots of that this week. Well done. Okay, so I'm going to read a bit of this out and then we'll have a question and I'll explain how we would answer it. So we're at a new chapter. It's called So What Do You Say? Alex opened his eyes. So he was still alive. That was a nice surprise. He was lying on a bed in a large, comfortable room. The bed was modern, but the room was old, with beams running across the ceiling, a stone fireplace and narrow windows in ornate wooden frames. He had seen rooms like this in books when he was studying Shakespeare. He would have said the building was Elizabethan. It had to be somewhere in the country. There was no sign of traffic. Outside he could see trees. Someone had undressed him. His school uniform was gone. Instead, he was wearing loose pyjamas, silk from the feel of them. From the light outside, he would have guessed it was early evening. He found his watch lying on the table. Okay, so I've taken a little part of this. It says, a stone fireplace and narrow windows in ornate wooden frames. In this sentence, the word ornate is closest in meaning to what? So this is where you'd have to think, read around the sentence and think what else could go in place of it that still makes sense. So that might give me an idea of what could be a synonym. So another meaning for it. So you could have had, which one of these? Elaborate. So ornate actually means something that's very intricate, elaborate, very fancy. Alright? A couple of those words are very similar, antiques almost the same, but it means elaborate. So it could have been narrow windows in elaborate wooden frames. And carry on. And yeah, because his watch was lying on the table beside the bed, and he reached out for it. The time was 12 o'clock. It had been 4:30 when he was shot with what must have been a drugged dart. He had lost a whole night and half a day. There was a bathroom leading off the bedroom, bright white tiles and a huge shower behind a cylinder of glass and chrome. Alex stripped off the pyjamas and stood for 5 minutes under a jet of streaming water. He felt better after that. So, this next one, give 2 synonyms that could be used in place of, so to replace, the word huge in this clause. So here, because there's a semicolon joining those 2 together. So it says bright white tiles and a huge shower behind a cylinder of glass and chrome. You can pause the video and have a little think, or let's have a little look. So some of our answers could have been any 2 from large, enormous, massive, gigantic, mammoth, grand, formidable, oversized, whopping, and many more. There were lots and lots. So it's a great word, huge, but even this author could have used a synonym for it, couldn't they? So this isn't our turn. I'm going to read out loud, and then you'll have a chance to have a go with me. He went back into the bedroom and opened the cupboard. Someone had been to his house in Chelsea. All his clothes were here, neatly hung up. He wondered what Crawley had told Jack. Presumably he would have made up some story to explain his sudden disappearance. He took out a pair of Gap combat trousers, a Nike sweatshirt and trainers, got dressed, then sat on the bed and waited. About 15 minutes later there was a knock and the door opened. A young Asian woman in a nurse's uniform came in, beaming. "Oh, you're awake and dressed. How are you feeling? Not too groggy, I hope? Please come this way. Mr. Blunt is expecting you for lunch." So, let's have a little look at this one. In quotes, we've got, a young Asian woman in a nurse's uniform came in, beaming. This means that the nurse is what? And we have to tick one, so there's going to be some options. So I'm trying to think of what that little part actually means. So, does it mean that the nurse is shining? Does it mean that she's tall, smiling, or helping? So you might want to read it again and think. It says, a young Asian woman in a nurse's uniform came in, beaming. So she could have came in tall, came in shining, came in smiling, or came in helping. You can think about which one fits best, but beaming actually means smiling. Okay, you have a beaming smile. Alright, so this is going to be your turn. Now, I'm actually starting with a chili 3 today. They're a little bit mixed up, but have a go. Alex hadn't spoken a word to her. He followed her out of the room, along a corridor and down a flight of stairs. The house was indeed Elizabethan, with wooden panels along the corridors, ornate chandeliers and oil paintings of old, bearded men in tunics and ruffs. The stairs led down into a tall, galleried room with a rug spread out over flagstones and a fireplace big enough to park a car in. A long, polished wooden table had been laid for three. Alan Blunt and a dark, rather masculine woman unwrapping a sweet were already sitting down. Mrs. Blunt? Alex. Blunt smiled briefly, as if it was something he didn't enjoy doing. It's good of you to join us. Alex sat down. It didn't give me a lot of choice. So for your term, write down 4 things that you are told about the house. So look in here and what can you find? 4 things. Great, so let's have a little look. Could have chosen from any of these. Okay, I'll just move me out of the way. The house is Elizabethan. It has wooden panels along the corridor. Wooden panels along the corridors. It has ornate chandeliers, oil paintings of old bearded men. It had a set of stairs leading to a tall galleried room. The galleried room has flagstone floors, and the galleried room has a very large fireplace. There were lots to choose from. So you just needed to pick out the ones that you thought. All right. Right, let's move on. So I'm going to read this one out for Chili too. Yes, I don't quite know what Crawley was thinking of, shooting you like that. But I suppose it was the easiest way. May I introduce my colleague, Mrs. Jones? The woman nodded at Alex. Her eyes seemed to examine him minutely, but she said nothing. Who are you? Asked Alice. What do you want with me? I'm sure you have a great many questions, but first let's eat. Blunt must have pressed a hidden button, or else he was being overheard, for at that precise moment a door opened and a waiter, in white jacket and black trousers, appeared carrying 3 plates. I hope you eat meat, Blunt continued. Today it's car d'agneau. You mean roast lamb? The chef is French. Right. Find and copy a group of words that suggests Alex was being studied by Mrs. Jones. Great. It was, her eyes seemed to examine him. If you're being examined, that's like someone's looking at you, studying you. So well done. Also, let's have a little look at another question for this same part. All right, so I'm not going to read it again. You can go back and hear it again if you need to. What does the word minutely mean in this phrase? Now, I've put it just below. Her eyes seem to examine him minutely. So building on the last little bit, what does that word minutely actually mean in this context? So it is an adverb. Have a little think. Off you go. Great. Let's have a look. So it means she looked at him meticulously, so with absolute real care and with great attention to detail. So she was properly looking him up and down, trying to work him out and suss out every little bit about him. Alright, so this is a chilly one. I'm going to read it and then there'll be a question. Alex waited until the food had been served. Blunt and Mrs. Jones drank red wine. He stuck to water. Finally, Blunt began. As I'm sure you've gathered, he said, the Royal in General is not a bank. In fact, it doesn't exist. It's nothing more than a cover. And it follows, of course, that your uncle had nothing to do with banking. He worked for me. My name, as I told you at the funeral, is Blunt. I am Chief Executive of the Special Operations Division of MI6. And your uncle was, for the want of a better word, a spy. So, what was revealed in this part of the story? Was it Ian Ryder worked for a bank? Alex's uncle was a spy for MI6. Alan Blunt is Alex's uncle. Royal and General are a bank. You need to choose one. Brilliant. Let's have a look. Yep. Alex's uncle was a spy for MI6. Wow. Okay, I'm going to read some more of the text. Alex couldn't help smiling. You mean like James Bond? Similar, although we don't go in for numbers, 00 and all the rest of it. He was a field agent, highly trained and very courageous. He successfully completed assignments in Iran, Washington, Hong Kong and Cairo, to name but a few. I imagine this must come as a bit of a shock to you. Alex thought about the dead man, what he had known of him, his privacy, his long absences abroad, and the times he had come home injured. A bandaged arm one time, a bruised face another. Little accidents, Alex had been told, but now it had all made sense. I'm not shocked, he said. Blunt cut a neat slice of meat. Ian Ryder's luck ran out on his last mission, he went on. He had been working undercover here in England, in Cornwall, and was driving back to London to make a report when he was killed. You saw his car at the yard. Stryker and Son, Alex muttered. Who are they? Just people we use. We have budget restraints. We have to contract some of our work out. Mrs. Jones here is our head of special operations. She gave your uncle his last assignment. We're very sorry to have lost him, Alex. The woman spoke for the first time. She didn't sound very sorry at all. Do you know who killed him? Yes. Are you going to tell me? No, not now. Why not? Because you don't need to know. Not at this stage. All right. Alex put down his knife and fork. He hadn't actually eaten anything. My uncle was a spy. Thanks to you, he's dead. I found out too much. So you knocked me out and brought me here? Where am I, by the way? This is one of our training centres, Mrs. Jones said. You brought me here because you don't want me to tell anyone what I know. Is that what this is all about? Because if it is, I'll sign the Official Secrets Act or whatever it is you want me to do. But then I'd like to go home. This is all crazy anyway. And I've had enough. I'm out of here. Blunt coughed quietly. It's not quite as easy as that, he said. Why not? It's certainly true that you did draw attention to yourself both at the Breakers Yard and then at our offices on Liverpool Street. And it's also true that what you know and what I'm about to tell you must go no further. But the matter of the fact is, Alex, we need your help. My help? Yes. He paused. Have you heard of a man called Herod Sale? And that's where we'll leave it. And I've got some questions at the bottom. And you just want to have a little think about these, ready for next lesson. It just says, who do you think Herod Sale is? What does he have to do with the story? Do you think he'll be a good or bad character? So you can use your prediction, Viper, just to have a little think ahead. If you want to send in an idea of who you think he is or what he's got to do with the story, great. Or if you just want to write it down and then when you find out, compare your ideas. Brilliant. So, can you please send in any pictures of your work today to the Year 6 email address? Like I showed earlier, it is great to see your work and you might get a shout out, dojo points, we can reply to you and give you feedback and really help you along. So yeah, please send it to the email address on the screen. Thank you for today. It has been absolutely lovely teaching you again and I hope you're really enjoying this book. We're starting to really get into the interesting parts now where Alex is finding out more and more about this secret life his uncle had. So, I'll see you tomorrow.